Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv, and today I'm joined by sex and intimacy coach Finn Deerhart and intimacy coordinator Leo Reisig. And today we're talking about the 80s anthem that is our latest Himeros.tv video release called Bro Science. And we will be processing everything from our recent Kink themed Missouri shoot. It's the full plate. Grab a fork and let's get started. That wasn't even in the script. I improvised that.
Well, girl, we ate a lot.
Did you sweat a little bit and you got a little nervous? You're like, oh God, I'm deviating.
I haven't stopped sweating since before this shoot. So,
oh, wow.
Himeros Live is brought to you by Himeros.tv. Himeros.tv is an erotic website with hundreds of videos that will do more than make you come. They'll enhance your experience of sex and sexuality as you'll discover new and exciting ways to increase pleasure, build connections, and much, much more. Himeros.tv videos feature your favorite porn stars like Blake Mitchell, Calvin Banks, Diego Sands, and more, but also everyday men of all ages, shapes, sizes, and colors. The videos are hot, they are authentic. And because we work with the world's best gay sex experts, they'll help you experience the best sex of your life, especially if the sex you're having is just with yourself. Listeners of Himeros Live can save 20% at himeros.tv/pod. That's HIMEROS.tv/pod. Himeros.tv, it's like porn, but better.
You know, so I just want to know something. Are those names that you dropped there on the first intro, are those like SEO magnets or what?
Well, since it's done verbally, it's not search engine optimization, but those are, we get like a ranking each month of like who the biggest porn stars are.
So it's strategic.
Yeah, it's kind of like these are the names that people gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm. I love his face. This incredible indigo light shining through your face here. What is that?
I can't see it because we're on our triple screen, so I can't see my face.
Okay.
But yeah, there's like a it's like a lens flare that's kind of cutting through. That just
gorgeous.
Better. Yeah. All the technical talk. I don't know if they're ready for today.
It's the most gorgeous lens flare I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it really is.
No, they're not. There's a lot to get to. First, let's check in. How's everyone doing? Finn in particular?
Do you really want to know? Do you really want to know? It's been crazy.
Yeah, we want you to be authentic with us.
We love you.
I mean, well, I love you too. It has been. I'm actually feeling better now. It's been kind of nutty. We had fires here. I almost had to evacuate. That came back and forth. It was like, you're gonna have to evacuate. You're not. You are. You aren't. And so I had a bag packed. Then it was fine. And then smoke got really bad in the area. So like smoke's been really, really terrible. There's more fires now to the east and to the north of us, but we're totally cool. But in all of that, my refrigerator broke, and then like appliances were so backed up. I ordered one, but it took 2.5 weeks to get to me. So like for 2 weeks, I was getting up every morning and going to the grocery store to buy dry ice to put in a cooler to keep just a little bit of groceries ready. And then I was like also having to go get like food like every day too. So it was just kind of nutty.
Those images of like the red skies, are you getting that where you're at, or is that more San Francisco?
So that is San Francisco. Here, like it's actually just kind of gray today, but it was like the other day, it was like one of the most beautiful skies I've ever seen. And it was weird to think about it being as a result of destruction, but it was like purple and orange and blue. It was just bizarre, like a rainbow spectrum all across the sky, like midday, kind of dark.
I mean, wildfires are a natural part of like the cycle of like forestry and like nature. It's just we have like exerted our management over that process in a way that has really messed things up, because they're supposed to be forest fires. They're not supposed to be these like massive like fire tornadoes, because we keep, I mean, in a way it's we need stuff to burn because that keeps it allows the forest to regenerate and all that, but our mismanagement has it's just another where humans feel like we need to insert ourselves, and we end up causing more harm than damage.
Yeah.
So I feel.
Yeah,
like
you know what? Like there was like it was definitely scary for a little bit. I'm glad that everything's fine in this area. I did go and see an area that got burned kind of recently. It was close to Hoyt's Crossing, the new beach on the river that I've talked about on here. And it like was coming for Hoyt's Crossing, so people were kind of scared for a little bit that it was gonna swallow that area. And that's the coolest spot around here. I love it. It's just so, I'm just so integrated. I was out there on last weekend actually, and there's like gay guys that are naked and like hanging out together, and then there's like also like heterosexual people, and like in such an interesting like integrated way. I mean, there's like little kids that are with their families. Nobody's like hyping about anything, and then it's just kind of like a gentle erotic kind of feel in the air, but it's not like overly sexual, nor is it like super stifled feeling. It's just really cool. So I'm glad that,
like, you mean healthy?
yeah, like just like people
like,
being like normal and naked, and you know, like there's like little areas you can go if you want to be more, you know, like erotic. You know, there's areas of the river where guys kind of disappear to, but mostly it's just like kind of an open, relaxed atmosphere, and it feels so nice. So that's part of what's
and
going on for me.
yeah. Leo Rising, how are you doing now that you're back on planet Earth?
I'm never back on planet Earth fully, which is like something I have to work on, of course. Definitely always need to do my grounding things. I am just sending Finn and everyone near Finn and everyone Finn knows like a big ball of love and protection and contentment when there can be contentment. You guys get that buzzing?
Yeah, I also think your microphone's backwards because I can see the logo. The little red dot is supposed to face you.
Is it better now?
Oh, totally.
100 times better.
Yes. Now it's like you're singing a song.
So maybe not fully back on Earth.
Since being back, I actually had elation all day today. I had a really wonderful dream. And I woke up, my body felt great, and I did my appreciation exercises, and everything about being back in Atlanta felt correct, which was something I worried about on the plane because I just moved here.
Yeah.
And I got off the plane, and the stewardess and then a random black woman who overheard me speaking to the stewardess, both black women, were just like, "You're meant to be here. And there's so much possibility." And they just said like these amazing things. And I was like, I'm so happy I just came off this porn shoot because like the abundance of the universe is like confirming that where I'm arriving is where I'm meant to be. And leaving the group after all the work felt like really leaving like a retreat or like a summer camp.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And like, if anyone else understands this, it's Finn, because Finn, you've done so many of these projects with us. And this project was nutso. Like I had a really good time. I'm so proud, like on just like many different fronts of what we created. I will say Leo Rising, I don't know if you can hear me because you just walked away.
The light is just too much.
We were having a lighting situation here.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Leo Rising has passed the diarrhea torch to me.
Okay.
Yeah, you know how like women get like synchronized menstrual cycles?
Yeah.
We've synchronized our bowels.
Oh no.
So,
was this like
I'm lactose intolerant, Davey. And I decided a particular peach pie that everyone else was like reading for filth. Like no one liked the caterer's peach pie. And it was the only dessert that she made vegan.
Yeah, she called it. She called vegan.
Vegan.
Yeah. I've heard that.
She made it for me. And you know, sometimes I break covenant. So when I'm working in a particular capacity, you might do this. I try to be as plant-based or veggie-based as possible. And my experience with being on set is if you don't give your restrictions or say what you want, you won't get it at all. And the first 2 days, she filled us up with pork. So I was very happy. I told Davey a little white lie that I'm very vegan because he was like, "Are you really vegan?" I was like, "I really need to make sure I eat vegetables on this trip."
Right. Yeah. Also, like one of the models doesn't eat pork, and he
didn't tell anyone.
Didn't put that in his dietary restrictions. Every plate, I mean, this is like Southern cooking. Every plate had bacon in it.
Every dish.
Bacon wrapped chicken, bacon salad,
bacon green beans, bacon like ambrosia. Like she made like a dessert with bacon. Like bacon was everywhere.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
So,
but we love her. We appreciate her.
Finn, what I'm thinking for setup for this would be fun if, since you weren't there, you could interview us about the experience and like what happened. I can set the scene up a little bit, which is the venue we were at was in Missouri alongside a river. It was like a kind of a I mean, it looked like a Bible study camp, basically.
But it wasn't. It was something for adults. It was definitely adults.
I think there's been a few Bible studies there. I mean, there were pews out in the
There is
backyard.
absolutely in Missouri. There have been Bible studies there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Even the canoes had like the Jesus fish on it.
Yeah.
So setting the scene, we had 6 models, all of which had brought something kind of different to the table. We had a great crew, probably the most diverse, for sure, the most diverse crew we've ever worked with. I would venture to suggest probably the most representative crew that has ever filmed gay porn.
Wow.
I mean, we had so many different perspectives.
That's cool.
So that's setting the scene. We filmed 12 videos, kink themed. Okay.
Kink themed is such a broad umbrella. So maybe can we just start with that? Like when you say kink themed, like, and what were the, oh Lord, what themes did you really, I would say like what really stood out as like, one of the kink themes that really like, I guess, grabbed you personally and became like its own thing.
What was the theme on the fisting day? Do you remember, Leo Rising?
I can pull it up.
Surrender, maybe? Or...
I don't know if there were themes as much as like there were working titles per scene. I can pull it up.
Yeah, no, but there was a theme. So each of those scenes, each day had a different theme. So there was like role play day was day 1. And so that was like a lot of like daddy, son kind of stuff. I think I would say impact play, I think was one of them.
That was the flogging and the spanking.
Yeah.
Who wrote the content?
It was Paul. He's a kink coach from San Francisco.
Paul Johnson.
Okay.
He so he would teach like a workshop in the morning that kind of helped the models embody whatever it was that was going on. And then he hung out with us on set and kind of gave pointers. And he was also kind of like the production assistant. He was like lugging sandbags around. We had never worked with the cinematographer that we worked with before, and she's so freaking talented. She's so good. But we also had a lot more equipment than we typically do. You know how usually we just kind of just shoot. This was like there was a lot of setup, a lot of lighting involved, but like every shot that we did was gorgeous.
I'm excited to see. Were there any like moments that you were really confronted personally, either one of you? Like personal competition with your belief systems, your practices, your ick factor, your ability to like stay present and focused? Anything in that space?
No, I don't. I would say for me, being very new to the whole experience, not new to sex, not new to pushing the boundaries with sex and exploring sex, but witnessing erotic art filmed and being present to those models and being present to, I mean, being a part of film is one thing, but being present to erotic art is very different. And I never had an ick factor. I never judged anything I saw. And that was more of a reconciliation for me, because at 32, there was so much shame when I was younger about many sex acts, especially if I was a part of them or if I wasn't. You know, there's always the, I'm not getting it, so let me say something smart.
Right.
Like, how did you do that? Oh my God, you're so nasty. Your ass is swollen, like shit like that, right? Really taunting things, but it's because you don't, you know, like we said stupid shit when we were younger, some of us.
Yeah.
I still say stupid shit now.
There were some moments. And they were not intelligent. I was like, David, no, I'm kidding. I didn't have ick. I definitely grew a lot. It was wonderful for me dealing with being a spiritual coach, being a mindful facilitator, someone who helps people curate safe space for that, to just watch it occur and still be able to survive in a kink environment. Because the thing I get to bring out into the world gradually, and there's no rush, is that just because some people believe, not many of our listeners, but some people believe that sex art, sex workers lack common decency, lack kindness, lack compassion. And I actually witnessed some of the most compassionate, empathic, on top of it, ready to be your ally, ready to show up, ready to participate, clean, do very, very, very caretaker-related, heart-centered things immediately after doing something like cathartic. If you don't know, kink is very cathartic. It's a lot of touch. It's ecstatic. So I never was icked. I felt bad that my diarrhea day was the same day as
Did that happen to like coalesce with any kind of kink situation?
Fisting day. Fisting day.
Okay.
I was in my room shitting my brains out, and someone was downstairs empty.
So did you actually not see the fisting happen?
And I probably won't watch it. But I didn't see it. I won't watch it because those particular models and I bonded on a level really high. So I might not watch their scenes because I don't know where that's going to lie with my coach brain right now. So I feel like I've supported them where I can support them. Where like the scenes I did watch the first 2 days, I'll watch those to review those easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love how you're talking about this experience in multiple like parts of yourself, you know. These are the parts of yourself that are there.
Yeah. You will have to watch, like it's going to be required reading to watch so we did this one scene and I think what we were really good at was going with the flow and making adjustments and not being wedded to stuff. Like things came up, someone had an allergic reaction at one point. Like it meant doing a scene with a solo person instead of two. On the last day, we were kind of recognizing that Nate and Nico both had a very special bond, and they were both great performers. And so they weren't scheduled to work together. We kind of moved things around, and like the pieces were just falling into place. And Rose, the cinematographer, was like, hey, some of this content, she's like, I've been allowed to do things that I've never done in my art before. Could we do something really, really creative with this video? And I was like, yeah, like, what are you thinking? She's like, how about we film the scene in one take? No stopping, just film it. And I was like, so for like an hour and a half, like, and she's like, no. She's like, I can't hold a camera. She's adjusting exposure, like focusing. She's like, I can't do it for that long. She's like, I can probably do it and like hold it together for 20 minutes. And she's like, do you think we can film a whole scene in 20 minutes? And I was like, no, like these things take a long time. The models have to like build up so they can get to like, you know, a really intense orgasm. Like there's just a lot that has to happen. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, okay, she's like technically gifted. Like she knows everything about her camera, like about film, artistically brilliant. Like we have a great director, like the models incredibly embodied, like our cup is overflowing, like going into the scene. So when she suggested it, I was like, you know what? Like, let's just try it. And we did, we kind of rehearsed like what the choreography would look like. Cause they were not just going to stay in like one spot, but like move through an entire room. How can we light that room so that every like corner that they're going to go in looks beautiful? As I'm like going back through, I think when people watch the scene, they're gonna be like, oh, that was really special and pretty. But I don't think they're gonna realize like what happened is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And we did it. And it worked. And I didn't breathe for the entire 18 minutes that this thing, because bumping the camera with your elbow would have like, you know, there's mirrors in the room. Like if you get reflections the wrong way, there was a moment where Nate, he had tears in his eyes because he was giving Nico head, and the tears were kind of like streaming down his cheek, not streaming, but kind of just like there on his cheeks, present. And the light hit it in a way that you could have never rehearsed. And they just kind of glistened like diamonds, like on his cheeks. I mean, it was unreal. 18 minutes, like they both orgasmed. I mean, it was the most honest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And like the fact that we did it for Himeros, I mean, like I'm like so proud that we got it.
I love it, man. And you know what, like it's already like what's jumping out to me. I don't know how you're gonna really file this, but like it's like you have been doing this for a while. You've produced a lot. It's not like you can just be like, oh, I just like throw caution to the wind and see what happens. It's not like that, but that flippant, you're bringing like a lot of A game from all these different perspectives, the actors, the production, but like for you to go next level and be like, okay, I'm going to let go of control, which is kind of, you know, a challenging thing, and getting a next level experience out of it, you know, like by surrendering some control and then moving into what wants to just come out. It's a really fucking cool thing.
We were like on cloud nine, like afterwards. Everyone was just like, did that just happen? Like, did we just capture that?
Why did he have tears on his cheek? Do you know what was going on for him?
You know, sometimes like your gag reflex like triggers that.
I
think
more later rising.
I think Finn's onto something.
Yeah.
So that there was a lot of leveling up for everyone there. And I think it's because I do think it has a lot to do with agreeing to show up your best and healthy self during this particular time. Like this pandemic is a lot mentally on folks. The invitation on our opening ceremony was not to let that go, but to let go of things that would normally kind of get in your head as a performer or get into your head when you're just, the things that weren't present don't need to be present, even though they live in your connective tissue anyway. Like they'll be there in your body. And the art of kink itself is this place people go to, not total surreal escapism, but really to find the door to get out of a way of thinking, a pattern of thinking. And Paul really made great space for that. Was my understanding. It was really great that was a platform that these models got to live through. The constant reminder that I would give them is that like whatever you put on that camera, on that screen is going to be what people are going to learn, whether they're masturbating to it or not. They're just observing. I really witnessed Nate and Nico and a few of the other models really get that, but Nate and Nico got that consistently for like, what were there? 5 days? 4 days.
4 days of filming. Yeah.
4 days of filming. Like for 4 days of filming, like these are 2 people that showed up and consistently kept improving per workshop on top of what they were already coming with. And then the natural connection of feeling safe with each other. And it was also the first sex scene that was, I guess it was still within the kink umbrella, but it was the thing that there weren't any kink techniques really.
Oh yeah, there were.
They used them, but they didn't have to use them, right?
Well, yeah, it was the cock and ball torture scene.
Okay.
And so there was in the video a lot of like pulling, extending of the balls, like slapping the balls. You haven't seen it yet, right?
No, I didn't see that one.
No, I haven't seen it.
What did they call me? The dorm daddy. I was dorm daddying the others that were going through their thing.
Dorm daddy.
So let me workshop this with you guys, so we need to title this something, and Rose, the camera person, she said, there's this really great quote. I forget who said it, but it's like a quote that's often comes up in film, and the quote is, "Every cut is a lie." And that's especially true in porn. Anytime a porn cuts, like we know this from having worked on it. Like it means that the camera adjusts, or the models need a moment to go do this or that. Like someone is like having issues and they're worried about their boner, or like there's all these things that happen in those cuts. And so when you piece it together, you tell a story that's not true. And I mean, it might be telling something that's true, expressing a truth, but you're using a lie to convey a truth. Right? Does that make sense? And
I love it.
And when you're doing a story this way, where the camera, there's no room for lie. Like it's just honest. That's why I said it's like the most honest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like it's just everything that's there. So I thought about titling it "Every Cut is a Lie."
Oh, wow.
I also don't know that when people watch it, I think that title draws attention to the fact that this is done in one take. I think when people watch it, it's like my dad watched 1917, that film that was all done allegedly in one take. It wasn't. They like find places to hide the cuts, but the whole film is done in what looks like one take. When my dad watched it, he didn't realize that. I realized that because I produce film, and I'm like, oh my God, when is this going to cut? This film is not cutting. I think when most people watch this video, they're not going to realize that it's done in one take. They're just going to, their mind is going to process at some level that there's something different about this. And I kind of want to draw attention to the technical aspect of it with that title. Though I was also thinking another good title for it could just simply be "Uncut." It's kind of like a double entendre.
Are either of them
Nico is intact and Nate is circumcised.
I think that's a great name. And I think that's a great name. You can also use both, can't you?
We could. I mean, we're going to submit that to film festivals.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you also used a woman to film. Is that a first?
A woman to film.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what she sees.
Yeah.
She sees amazing things.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it was her first. It was also her first erotic shoot. So that was huge for her.
So cool. And all these little.
She was in it. She was in it.
Yeah, she's I don't want to just say technical, but she's very into her craft. And so to her, it's like you could ask her to shoot bugs. She's going to just shoot the bug. Like she's going to do the thing. It was beautiful to watch. Director was beautiful to watch. Everyone, there was a lot of growth, man. It was really like, it was like a retreat. It was almost like there was a lot of spoiling energetically. Like people were poured into as much as the models poured back out.
Oh.
I really hope people get that. Like there's a lot of behind the scenes love and care and beautiful craft and skill from the production team. Like Davey's amazing.
I know.
I know you know. Oh, also I need to brag. We didn't argue.
Oh, wow. We didn't get in a fight, but it's only
on here. You guys were like, "Oh, we had a fight." I was like, "We had no fights."
I mean, we didn't really have a fight.
I know.
We're being dramatic. We just have a little tension over my coffee habit.
I was ready to fight a couple times, but Leo Rising is impossible to fight with because like you just have this like way of diffusing any situation with just like laughter, like and being like goofy and like there's
but
just...
not like escapist. Like I just diffuse it.
He just minimizes our feelings. No.
No, wait, I think you were on the topic of how I'm amazing. So please, how
I was I knew that.
Pick up where you left off.
Yeah, come on.
I knew that, but it was really. I mean, I've worked on some crappy projects that had producers that scare the shit out of people. And there are real moments that can occur on set where if you're really like not on the snap, like on the beat, the producer's a little scary. And Davey does not live that way. He doesn't emote that way. It's always solution based. I appreciated every moment where we like conspired for a bigger solution, but we also made sure he was well fed. So he was always in that state. Like, you know, like he knew when to get a snack. It was good.
You know, I've heard people say about Davey, multiple people have told me in confidence that when they think of how to like arbitrate a situation or like have a difficult conversation, they think like how would Davey phrase this?
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually thought that myself. I'm like, how do I push back on this person in a way that's very gentle, that helps them like think about a new direction versus like getting defensive. And I'm like, Davey would say da 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 da, and like
because I'm a sociopath, so I know what to say to get.
Not true.
Oh, don't say that. I was actually getting set up and crying again, and then you just killed it with your sociopath. I was really like feeling it.
I think a lot of it is all the things that come up on a shoot I've already kind of mentally thought through. I've mentioned this before that like I'm the person on the set who does the least amount of stuff. I kind of carry things around. But I'm generally sitting there in the corner watching whatever unfold. But in my head, I'm playing out every scenario. So when one of the models had an allergic reaction to a cat, and he was like, I can't film today. I was very quickly able to kind of like make a solution for that. Like, okay, the next scene is going to be solo. I know Bianca really likes using his voice. We'll have a scene where he like connects directly to the camera. Like we just very like quickly came up with a solution because I had already played out like what would happen if someone had to step out of that next scene. So yeah, that's kind of and also like being like a dictator producer, like what you see the best work come out of people is when they're happy, when they feel supported, when they feel safe, when they feel heard. I could have said, well, you're having an allergic reaction, but you're still committed to doing the scene. Like you're not going to get a great performance. And like that model for the rest of the shoot is not going to give 100%, you know?
I don't trust you either.
Yeah. So there's not really an alternative. If your end goal is getting the best content possible, then you have to find ways to support everyone.
Yeah,
totally. Well, that just means to me that you're like, I mean, I think about this, like the medium that you're working with is also including living beings. It's, so you're considering how to like amplify quality. I don't think the only thing that makes you sociopathic. I've seen you cry. You totally cried when I got out of the car after being like stranded in airports for 48 hours. So you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Big tree energy update. You know, we're waiting for a tree moment here. Those of you who listen know that every podcast has a moment of this.
It's like, where's Waldo? We have to find the tree.
I didn't know this when I booked the property, but there's an old growth American sycamore tree in the property where we filmed. Gorgeous.
So yeah.
Rose, the camera person, she is doing a series about people who have like a connection with a specific tree in their lives.
Oh, cool.
And so this tree kind of became like she interviewed me about this tree because we used the tree in a scene. It was actually our first video. It was the spanking sequence was done against the tree. Do you know how tickled I was to have an old growth tree in the video? Like, excited doesn't begin to cut it. And the tree is basically a participant. First of all, the models are cute. They're lovely. They have an awesome connection, but the tree like steals the show. It's there. It's sensual. It's you can experience. I guess you can't experience it in 5 senses. You don't taste the tree, but like you can smell it.
The moss isn't safe. You could have licked it.
You could have licked it. The moss was
so cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, the moss was very like moist. It was very sensual. It had these like holes in it too that like the models were like holding on to, almost like buttholes or glory holes.
Oh my God, you made your first pansexual video. That's true. You did. You kind of crossed out there and like, kind of like explored the limits of identity just a little bit.
And we called it a threesome.
That was the name of the video. So instead of threesome, treesome.
God, it's so cool.
That's effing brilliant, right?
It really is.
So of course, I could not help myself but immediately Google like what is the largest American sycamore tree in Missouri? 20 feet 4 inches in circumference. This one was 19 feet 11 inches, so 5 inches shy of the girthiest American sycamore tree in all of Missouri.
How old would that be roughly?
I think 400 years.
Oh,
about 400 years old. It also was. All right, I'll try to like make this quick, but I do want to say this. It was a very. Who
are you talking to?
I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to myself at this point. It was a very relatable tree. You know, like we've all seen trees that are very like perfect. They have the stem, you know, like the trunk. They like have a beautiful crown, very round, whatever. This tree was not that. It had like broken limbs, like huge limbs that were broken. Like this tree had been through it. And so I think like in the same way that like we as queer people have been through, as human beings, we all go through it. Whatever, like we all go through it. And so when you look at a tree like that, that is there for 400 years, like still growing, fucking resilient, like strong, powerful, like owning this corner of the river, you know, with all these broken limbs and branches, like that is a tree that's relatable. And some people might look at it and be like, oh, it's like kind of imperfect. Like the way it could have been shaped better than that, or it's growing a little sideways. No, like that made it fucking real. It's like, oh, like she is going through it. We're all going through it right now. Like that tree. And there was something in it that was like you're standing there. This is my last point. You're standing there, you're breathing the air that this tree is literally like exhaling. Like there's this communion that's going on. Like one might even say this like sex that's happening. Like it's the tree and you and the tree. And when you think about that connection, it's the same feeling that I get when we sit around a campfire, that there's like a part of me that recognizes that, like, even if you've never sat around a campfire, the first time you do, there's a part of you that recognizes this as something I've done. Like this is in my DNA, to gather with people around a fire, like to be there with that tree, to feel that connection is, it just hits this part of you that's like timeless and bigger. You feel tiny and yet huge, like at the same time. It's just this really incredible feeling.
Yeah. You know, another thing too, that's like, I think it kind of like challenges like a notion of time. I mean, kind of like you're like in the presence of this thing that's so much older than the concept of time that we can live by. So it kind of blows away that experience of being like it with other humans, and here you are with this species. You're really relating to it. I think it's rad.
If you've ever taken like a graphic design class, they'll talk about like different ways of representing information through graphics. So like if you think about, for example, like if you cut a tree trunk down and you look at the rings of the tree, there's a visual representation of data there. It's telling you years, like number of years the tree is old. It also tells you with the width of the rings, like how much water there was, how much rain there was that year. Like that there's this really interesting representation of information. And the same, I think, is true when you look at a tree, just kind of from the side. All the lightning strikes, the branches that have fallen, like 400 years of history is recorded into the expression of that tree. So you look at it and you're experiencing a tree in that moment, but you're also experiencing 4 centuries.
Totally.
This may be the most beautiful podcast we've ever participated in.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And I actually have an thought that I want to hear your ideas around. So how it like is a metaphor in this way, like think about how the body does the same, like it shares subvocally every experience that this body has gone through, like what he, she, they like think about its attitudes, right? An attitude is more than a thought. It's like a way of holding yourself, how you do this, how you do that, like what kind of sex you're having, like how you move when you're having sex. It's all very, very intricately linked to your history and experience and like location, all that stuff. So I think it's a beautiful mirror into the human organism too.
Yeah, humans are all right. Humans are all right. You're right though, because even like the posture that you have, or the way that you walk, like records your injuries that you had.
Yeah, and just to counterpoint this, like I have like recently, so I think you both knew this maybe, that there was some there have been Black Lives Matter rallies for quite a while here in this Nevada City area, and there like a month ago there were some Blue Lives Matter guys that came out and like counter protested, and there was like a kerfluffle, and there was some like violence that happened, not serious but enough that these men are being charged by the county of Nevada County, criminally charged. I'm glad about that, and it like freaked me the fuck out. Like it was like this veil kind of like, whoa, like, in San Francisco, I never thought about anything like that ever. I just kind of like took it for granted, even though gay bashings happen in, San Francisco, just like anywhere. But it's something about like how I responded in that environment. I've actually been walking a little different. I've noticed I'm a little more hesitant to like grab Sam's hand. It just brings up trauma from the past for me. And now that I'm identifying that, I'm like, okay, I can't just let myself contract down, but like my body's been tighter. I felt smaller. Just a lot of, response to the environment.
To not feeling safe.
Yeah. Like, and it's a perception based thing. I talked with my chiropractor about it. He was like, what? I'm so glad you're sharing this with me. I felt a shift in you in the last couple of weeks. And he's just really, I love this man. He's like this like fatherly, like heterosexual guy. And he's really just like a sweet, safe space for me as like a male father type figure. And he's like, I'm so glad you shared this with me. Like, we need you here, and you're so welcome here. And like, even like conservatives in this area thought that was super whacked, and like, try to just kind of work through this and process this layer of your experience from the past, but, so, but I mean, I've noticed that in myself, and I kind of think about your tree analogy, like the tree grows in a way that demonstrates that to your eye. Like you see, like maybe it grows or like when you see a tree that grows up around like a piece of concrete or something, it's just like, what the fuck? It just kept growing anyway, and like around it and through it. And just changes shape.
Yeah. And so can we. Yeah. And so can we.
And so we do.
And so we do. And
so we
it
shall.
Okay.
Well, thanks for listening and being witness to this thing around. Yeah. Like it's.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And, there's like this giant white bird on the bird feeder. I'm at my parents' house.
What kind of bird? Does it look like a dove?
Like a white dove, like pure white dove.
Like a white-winged dove.
Okay.
There was a dove on my flight. Well, not on my flight. On that, what is it called? That little tube thing that connects to the door.
The jet bridge.
To you, Davey. The what?
It's a jet bridge.
The jet bridge. There was a dove nest. It was really pretty.
It was pretty, very cute.
The thing I want to say like about Kink,
We'll talk about gay porn, but please go on.
No, have you either one of you read Dossie Easton and Janet Hardy's book? She's the author of The Ethical Slut, but she wrote a book called Radical Ecstasy.
She British?
I don't think so. No, but she wrote a book called Radical Ecstasy about, it's like a tantric perspective on pain and kink. It's so fucking cool. And it really helped me really get.
Wait, what's her name?
Dossie Easton.
Okay.
She's the author of The Ethical Slut.
Okay. I just read or just listened to a podcast, Armchair Expert, and there was a religious woman who had written a book about sex, and she cited a quote, and she was like something to the effect, something very similar to what we've said, that like the reason that religion tries to disconnect us from sex is because it sees sex as the competition.
Yes.
I've never like heard it quite the way that she said it, and I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. All right, let's talk about bro science. Yeah, shall we?
I want to know more about Easton, but okay.
Oh yeah, just check it out. Radical Ecstasy. It's a phenomenal book, and it's her experiences of like personal. She's a therapist, so she doesn't reveal a lot in her life normally, but in this book, she reveals a lot about her own process in kink and some of the deep exploration of spirit in her through pain. So
quick question: did she also cover sort of meditatively allowing yourself, like tricking your brain to acknowledge that we seek out our negative experiences and to kind of like not orgasm, but to experience erotic astral pleasure with that? So because I was wondering when you said that if it was the same meditation I was sent by a tarot reader in England who. And it was so in line to like us beginning working together. And I'll get the name, but it really blew my mind when there were some awkward things magnetically coming through. And I was like, I had told Davey on the shoot, this reminds me of my one kink experience because I was blindfolded and it was like just out of this world. And my body was ecstatic, but it played on my fears. All of my fears blew up. And then at the end of it, I had no fears. And then my cell phone was like littered with like releases of things, like money came in, a person I didn't want to talk to that I hadn't spoken to in months just dropped themselves, and I was like, sex is magic. So we can cover that in a few weeks. Let's talk about the 80s porn.
Well, we are gonna like the shoot that we do in April, Finn, it's gonna be a lot about like some reclaiming some of those moments of like trauma in our lives, like that.
And I am gonna just come out to you and just say, yes, I totally believe, Leo Rising, that like the erotic is more than, it's like I personify it in a way, but it's a force that's pulling us towards healing. And this is not something obviously I would say maybe in a session to somebody, but like pulling you towards it. Well, where's a broken relationship to power that needs to be healed? Why do you think that's erotic? Because it's got some kind of code in it that needs to be healed. And most people just want to stop at the level of just consuming it versus like why, what the why and the how. So,
all right. So
with that, let's think about how that relates to bro science.
This is an 80s inspired gym porn featuring Josh Brady.
They weren't alive in the 80s. None of them were.
That's interesting, but they can still play the part.
They had to watch Patrick Swayze to kind of get the
Oh my God.
So Josh Brady, Adam Albright, and Darian Foster. It's set in my Palm Springs garage. This is a concept by Finn Deerhart, and it was filmed by Matthew Lynn. Finn, can you tell us a little bit about the concept?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: I call it bro science. There's like a tongue-in-cheek thing, right? Because like in the gym, it's like, hey bro, you should do this and blah, 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 and all this like advice that comes at you. And most of it's like not exercise science and it's kind of bullshit, or maybe it like helps you get like a bigger, isolated muscle somehow, but it's really, not all that great. It's not functional. So, totally, so the gym is like this like place that people go and kind of put on a persona and they play with persona a lot. And like, it's also like we form ourselves in these certain shapes to like, I don't know. For me, I'll just talk for me, to kind of like feel stronger and more powerful because I've felt unpowerful a lot in my earlier days. So, I mean, I look at the guys working out in the gym and it's just such a place. Like I love it. And it's a cartoon sphere, I have to say.
What do you mean you felt unpowerful?
Oh, like in a nutshell, just like lots of abuse as a kid in lots of different ways. So like now, like working out is a real time experience of feeling like, yeah, I'm fucking strong. And like, it's like, there's a compulsion there, but I look at gay men and like they're experience of the gym and like body identity and a lot of intensity around that, and like it having to be a certain way. Gay men and their body issues goes out, like steroids, like 5 times more likely than heterosexual men. So I was really trying to bring in a playfulness about the gym and a vulnerability there too, because that's one thing I don't really see in the gym. It's a lot of like, which is fun. Like,
right, everyone's kind of putting on a show.
Yeah, but there's not an acknowledgement of that being a show. It's like, oh no, you're supposed to, like, this is the way it is, but it's not. And so, having them be playful and like wrestling around, it's like it's making a bid and a joke about that, but also there is a sexiness to it. And I think a lot of guys, especially a lot of our audience, probably really relates to the gym as a space in which they have some erotic identity, have a lot of formative sexual experiences.
And really like the campiness of this video is like what every 80s and 90s like gym porn looked like, and they all had the same setup. It was like the bench press, the dick pops out, like, there's a montage, 80s. It's just like, the whole thing is like so cliched.
Totally.
And the video is very much aware of that. It's kind of like in on the joke, but we did something with this video, which is, though it starts out as very camp and tongue-in-cheek, it shifts. The camp kind of gets dropped as the guys start to connect. So it goes from this very like staged, cliched video to like these 3 guys like having this,
very loving,
sweet, like sweet connection. I've said this before, like, and this is not a criticism of these 3 guys. I think they did a great job of this video. Like, and I enjoy the visual of guys that are in their 20s. Like, I think like aesthetically, I think it's like there's a sexiness that I really respond to. But when we film content with younger guys, I always want to I feel this urge to jump in there and like show them how it's done. Like you can tell that there's this like, they're not quite aware of their own power yet, or there's this like holding back that happens. And Finn always says it doesn't happen with every young guy. There's certainly some that I think really give 100%. I think Jack Bailey, who's on the shoot with us in the road trip, and he was with us in the Kink shoot, like he has a lot of experience for being whatever he is, 23. Finn always says this though. He goes, well, he's like, they're young pups finding their way very compassionately, I will say our audience really enjoyed it. So.
I love his earring. What's his name?
Josh Brady. Yeah.
There's 3 of them, right?
Three guys.
Like, they're like no, the earrings. Just like they're layered.
I like the little dangly one.
Yeah, it was very Lost Boys. There's Sutherland.
What did you guys think of the video before I get into some of the comments?
I love that more and more of the video openings are becoming more cinematic. They're really inviting for me. I think the sweetness came from Darian. I think the other, I'm really reflecting on that, having worked with him on this last shoot. I'm wondering if as he evolves, he's just going to get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and more tender. There's a way in which he kind of cups people. Like he like nestles in. That's really, it fits his height. Like he's not getting any taller and he might not get any broader. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of that was there. I found that I didn't have that experience in high school and I wanted it, or like early college. Like I was like, oh, to have had that experience be tender, that would have been nice. So it brought that back. I did not read the comments this time. I do want to know how that went because I freaking love the music.
What do you think, Finn?
I felt kind of dispassionate about it. Like I think it was really pretty, lots of beautiful shots. I did feel like, I think for me, the reason why I felt a little like, was because I think in the gym environment, like it was like fucking isn't really an option. I was having more fun with the video, I should say, when it was like teasing, like dick was through the pants, like, like that kind of stuff. Cause it felt like I could relate to it more. When it was like fucking, I'm like, oh, well, we have to satisfy people's want and demand for fucking versus like it being something that felt in that same I don't know, intrigued. That's just my personal opinion.
Could you elaborate on that? I want to hear more on that.
Well, like, like at the gym, like stuff happens. You can grab people's dicks. Like stuff goes down. Depends on the gym you're in. But like, it's not like the guys are going to be like full on naked and fucking in the floor and then like having that's, so I kind of like, well, it lost that narrative and became like, would they really be fucking in the gym like that? I don't know. This is just my personal opinion. But I mean, it was beautiful shots though, huh?
Would you have wanted to like sit in the tension longer?
Totally. And maybe even into the tension. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like attached. Right. I need to see them fucking. Someone has to shoot a load. I mean, I'm just kind of like, what? It's way more fun if we just see like what they're in the gym, they're working out, and then they're doing stuff in that particular behavioral ecology versus like now it looks like they're in a bed somewhere having sex, which is not true.
Thank you for saying that because I brought that up about some porn content and got a little pushback.
From David?
This one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I also feel constrained by having to like whatever we do kind of has to plug into this formula because we're stepping outside that formula in so many different ways that like do things still. They don't. All of our videos don't have fucking, but do they all need some sort of like ejaculation and the sense that I've gotten from our audience is that like if there isn't that element, like if there isn't an ejaculation, then people feel like they didn't really get their money's worth. Because when we started our content, there wasn't. Most of the videos didn't have an ejaculation, and like the feedback we constantly got from people was, "We need more cum, we need more cum, we need more cum." And so I'm like, all right, well, we can still serve the messages we want, but there's certain like notes that we have to hit in each video. And like that was one of the things that felt kind of required. And it's annoying because in order to get that shot, especially if the model's connection isn't awesome, like sometimes models have to take out their cell phones. They start to disconnect from each other. They like just to produce every cut is a lie. We cut the camera, like give them 15 minutes to charge up on their phones. It creates a lot of pressure. It's something I wish I could step away from. I just don't know what the like membership ramification of that would be.
I totally hear that. And I do, it's not, I don't want it to be leveled as like criticism. I mean, that's where I jumped off because I would personally myself, it's like, I think I would be more throttled to see like some of the play that they were doing initially and like really focusing, like for instance, when I'm at the gym, it's like maybe I notice like a certain like pattern of a dude's sweat, or I notice like the way his muscles are moving, or like you kind of like you see his bulge, or like there's different, and if there is some kind of play, it's like kind of sneaky and quick and like I could be satisfied with that because then my mind fills in the blanks and there's like a whole nother narrative. I don't have to see like, oh, now they're having anal sex and then someone's gonna, and like, because I can kind of I can see a picture and have a whole experience in myself around the picture versus like spelling it out for me. So obviously, but that's,
we still could have done like 10 minutes of that before we got to the like actual, so like it could be in both and situation rather like.
Yeah. Like my favorite shot. My favorite shot was like bench pressing with the dick coming out of the shorts. Cause I thought that was like, bam, that was so sexy. That's the image that stuck with me.
Well, that happens on Instagram.
Well, that happens in my house.
So I think when we're in our best moments, we talked about this in the retreat too, a bit, the last shoot. When we're in our best moments, we film something that's like completely different, something that hasn't been seen, something powerful. When we're in our worst moments, I think we film something that's still really beautiful gay porn. And I think
I would agree with that.
Yeah. But like when we're at our worst, it's still beautiful gay porn. And
100%. Yeah.
And what I've learned is like people still like that. like did this video, some of the content that we shot for the Kink shoot. I'm like, okay, like we got a video. It's going to be gorgeous. Is it going to change the world? No. But people will still enjoy it, I think. And then some of it, I think, will change the world. Some of it, so anyway, our audience liked it. Some comments, John Wayne.
I'm sorry.
Yes, this concept sure hit the nail on the head. My first porn mags were issues of Men's Health magazine because I was too young to buy porn at the time. Seeing half-naked men working out in tight gym shorts really does it for me. Thanks for the flashback. Billy B says, great video. The gym has been a place where I am charged after my workouts, and not just from the release of endorphins, although I'm sure that's part of it. My trainer is a definite reason to keep me coming back every day, but just the atmosphere itself is intoxicating. What I like best about this movie was, one, when Adam was coming and Darian and Josh were truly focused on Adam's pleasure. Two, when Darian and Josh were preparing to come, watching them look into each other's eyes was mesmerizing. Three, watching Adam in sheer joy when he was being showered with cum. It was a joy to behold. An overall great scene where the models seem truly connected. Keep up with the great work. And so, there's an example of someone that really wanted to see the cum and enjoyed it.
That's not what they said.
The three things that they liked all had to do with cum.
The three things that they like all had to do with the models connecting while coming.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not only what they said. Because then they would have talked about like the girth, the splat, the direction, the height, the velocity of the
watching Adam,
the physics.
I mean, that's Mikey.
They're like
Mikey,
protracting the angle of ejaculate.
Mike 1965 says, "Oh my goodness, total memory lane. Tube socks, short shorts, homoerotic energy in the air. My coming out in late 80s on film. And Josh reminds me of one of those first guys that I brought home and almost got caught by my mother sneaking him out of the back as she was getting home. Nice. Beautiful and hot film that is all too real."
Love it. See, even at even if it has a kind of formulaic flow, it's still very gorgeous and it's a different perspective on it anyway, I would say.
Whose bike was that?
My bike.
I love that bike shot.
That's your bike?
My bike.
Never seen you on it.
Well, you've never come to visit me in Palm Springs. You
wasn't invited.
All right. I want to get to some questions. We have a really good voicemail today. If you guys have any questions or comments, send them to Davey at daveywavey.tv, or you can call 612-470-5729. All right. So, y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing a little bit of my echo.
Yeah.
Rising. Is that coming from you not having headphones on?
Maybe.
Can you just turn down the speaker a little bit? Like on your computer. That should probably do the trick.
You just wanted to control something I was doing.
I did not hear my voice fly back my face. All right. Oh, I can still hear it. But anyway, take a listen.
Hello there. My name is Chris, and I live in Bushwick in Brooklyn. And I love the podcast, and I love this voicemail thing. It's not a question, but I have an idea. So, Davey, when you talk about marketing, you're asking this question from as a business person. So I'm an executive coach. I work a lot in like the management consulting world. And you're asking this question of who will actually pay for these services? Like, you were talking about age, I think. You were talking about like however it unfolded. The thing that I would have you suggest, or the thing to consider, I think, is that you're actually trying to change a paradigm. Like the work that you're up to is paradigm shifting. And so you're trying to almost market to a person whose preferences are like, what they desire is of the future. And so I don't actually think you need to be concerned with whether people, are actually buying when you put the thing out there, like the older bodies or whatever the case may be. I think your marketing, the opportunity is to have it be a bridge. So like wherever someone would normally stop today, just go one past it. Like, so if I'm bi, for example, and I hook up with a man, I have a wife, I hook up with a man, like just every once in a while, just go one past it in your marketing. Invite that person to see what could be next for them in their evolution. Same thing with like older bodies, like show the older body like as like this is the object of desire, this is the thing that all these other people want. Like consider that your marketing is actually part of, changing the paradigm and how we think about sex, eroticism, etc. And that's what I was thinking of for you. I hope that's helpful. And if it's not, no worries. Love everything that you're up to. Thank you for all the
I feel like I need to hire him.
That was a job, and like I love it. It was totally a pitch.
Yeah.
We love you, so we're being sincere when we're like, yeah, we dig it.
I think it's great advice too, but I know it's really tricky because I mean it's easy for me to say I'm not like financing everything, but I will say the artist in me is always leaning in the direction of what he just said rather than the safety piece, because I do that. I consider that a lot when I'm putting out anything, if it's like written or spoken or whatever it is that I'm doing. I feel so much more in allegiance to what it is that I want to say than it is to like how it might be received, you know. And if I feel like if that's pushed back on by people, I almost have to like, well, move aside and let me find the person that does like this, you know?
Mm-hmm. What I heard him say is like, it's a bridge, but just kind of market it in one step beyond where people are at. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think we market things like 3 or 4 steps beyond where people are at. I think our trailer is a good example of something that is just 1 step beyond where people are at. Like, I think that feels very like obtainable or accessible for folks without like getting too abstract. Whereas sometimes we do stuff that's like really kind of out there, and it generally falls a little bit flat because people just aren't. It's not a bridge. It's like looking at the stars. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just too far away. We have like even our last, like the email that we did at the end of August, the very last email was like it was not like the models that everyone kind of knows and like we didn't incorporate any of that language or marketing into it. It was just really focused on like different bodies, different shapes, sizes, like kind of non-traditional porn, and it was probably like 3 or 4 steps too far, and it fell really flat in terms of like translating to sales, where usually we kind of do more of a balance of those things, and it works a lot better.
Can I offer a perspective that's really out there in like less than 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a Black queer person of color, we talked about this on set. I'm a category. White male is not a category. Your entire site doesn't offer categories of types of human beings. Your site says, here's a beautiful human body. Your whole brand is, how can being a male, whether it's cis-embodied or not, being a person, be celebrated? Everyone else, most of your consumers are also looking at other sites. I don't know why my voice is trembling. Most of your consumers are looking at other sites where they want something interesting. They have to type in BBC. They have to type in fat femme. Like, they have to type in these things that actually make other people feel bad, and nothing on Himeros TV makes anyone feel bad. Nothing is unsafe. And so what I heard in that is, keep doing what you're doing. The paradigm shift is erotic viewership can be safe, and it can be a safe place to explore what you're interested in. That's why I believe that this person gave the example of being a bisexual who sometimes sleeps with men. A lot more married couples that are in a heteronormative paradigm are just having a discussion about what the other person needs instead of just cheating. So maybe you've had some experiences, you failed forward, you never fell back. You've only continued to press on, where it's like, okay, I won't go at that far. But you have to consider the fact that when I did the audit on you guys in June, I didn't come back with, I have to type in black model to see your black model. Like, that shit sucks. I don't have to type in anything weird. It's just right there. These are real. What you offer, right? What you and what Finn creates and what all the creators and the Tantra teachers and coaches are creating is exactly what goes on in pretty much the collective consciousness of a queer male. And you should not apologize for that. And you should not be afraid of it, because if you keep dreaming the way that you're dreaming and producing those dreams with the beautiful contented way that you do, the money will follow, the structure and architecture will define itself, like trees.
Ooh.
Oh. Now you got me.
He starts like
He's like, trees? You said trees. Yeah.
At the shoot, you said something that you said something that inspired a little bit of a revelation to me. I was sharing that like I actually don't have a lot of like things that I'm like amazed, like super talents. I have things that I'm good at, like I'm reasonably good at a lot of things, which is a very good skill set to have if you have a small business. And Finn, like I'm sure know this. Like, I am okay at editing. I'm okay at graphic design. I'm okay at writing computer code. I am okay at writing marketing copy. I can film okay, I can storytell okay, but what I'm really good at, like what my superpower is like monetizing things, like turning something into a business. I can turn a passion into a business. And I've been doing that my entire adult life. And the realization that I had with Leo Rising was I'm actually not monetizing porn with Himeros TV. Like that's not what it is. What's always felt like the sweet spot for me is dismantling shame, like helping gay men experience their sexuality with joy. Like that's my dharma, that's my truth. Or my path, like whatever, however you want to think about it. And I feel like what I've done with Himeros.tv is I've used the vehicle of erotic content, of porn, whatever, to monetize that passion. Like, how do you help gay men experience sexuality with joy and make a living from it? Well, launching a subscription, erotic site is one way that you can effectively do that, especially given the skills that I have. And it's kind of uniquely perfect solution for my situation. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's what I want to say about
I love
that.
it. It's like you're joining in the conversation with a unique perspective and not parroting maybe necessarily what someone else is saying. And, if they want you to parrot something, checking that impulse, for whom is this shift, that I'm making. And I don't know, you're towing a line. I think it's really interesting. I like to watch from afar. I don't know what I would be doing if I had to finance everything, but I'm sure it's interesting. It's like, well, do I want to make an impact in this way or that way or how, and just kind of balancing all those forces out. I also just like to be radical and just make statements and like attract the people that are like really like, yes, about that. And if they don't like it, then it's like, okay, then move aside, but it's different,
I think we do a little bit of all of that. Like sometimes we do make that really radical stuff. Sometimes we make something maybe like this bro science that feels a little bit more mainstream, but
like, for instance, on American Heroes, I like went before I sent you that project, this one that we last finished, before y'all's Missouri one. I felt like really nervous to send you that. Like he's going to push back. You're like really into it. I would love to how you responded really excitedly about it. And I was happy to be able to push those buttons. I'm already thinking about pushing more for the Southern one in Germany. So
yeah, let's push them. Ironically, next week we're going to be discussing Porn 2.0. That's next week's video. This was a potent podcast.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in here.
I had some salt. It was good.
Salt, substance, had some meat, potatoes, put some hair on your chest. Finn, where can people get more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com, FINNDEERHART.com.
And Leo Rising, where can people get more of you?
Please keep coming in the DMs. Y'all are so cute at Instagram, Leo Rising Yoga.
And remember, you can save 20% off your Himeros.tv membership at Himeros.tv/pod. That's HIMEROS.tv/pod. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, more to come.